Say my name. Say my name. Say my name! Say my name!
Welcome back to Disney Marvels for week of June 13th, 2021. This is episode 138. Disney Marvels, the show about Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, Muppets, Pixar, 20th Century, the parks, and much, much more. If it has to do with Disney, it's fair game. I'm your host, Matthew Graken. So, this week's survey was about, of course, naturally, Loki. And what you all had to say, I found it interesting because it wasn't there was a good lead by the winning option. But the question is, and let me put it for you, has Loki lived up to your expectations so far? Yes, it's only been one episode, but sometimes that episode can make or break the series, particularly when it's the initial episode. So, your options were, did it exceed your expectations? It's what you expected? Not yet. Or it's a fail for me. Thankfully, out of the lot that voted, which was a good number of you, 0% said it's a fail. That's good to hear. But 4% of you said not yet. You're still on the fence. Not yet. 4% of you. 22% said what I expected. So 22% of you, it's lived up to it. At least, it's lived up. It's what you expected. That's good to hear. That's not a bad thing. 74%, though. The astounding 74%. The winner is Loki has exceeded your expectations. Loki was good. You enjoyed it. It was better than what you were hoping for. And you know what? I'm right there with you. I didn't know exactly what to expect going into this. And it already hit me with a lot more than I was expecting in the first episode. I was expecting a lot less. I was not expecting some of the stuff that came up, which, spoiler, Isaac and I will be talking about in a few moments on the second half of this show. So there you have it. Most of you think Loki has exceeded your expectations, and we all have high hopes going forward. So without further ado, we'll be back after these messages from our friends and sponsors for our talk about Loki Episode 1 and some other things. Warning, there will be spoilers about Loki, but I'll give you a heads up when that's coming.
Hey Matthew, Jim Hill here. I do the Marvelous Disney podcast with Aaron Adams over at the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network. I know, very humble sounding name. Anyway, I really enjoy what you've been doing over on the Disney Marvels podcast, but as you probably already noticed, the Marvel Us Disney and the Disney Marvels podcast names are very, very similar, which is why I imagine I keep getting mail for you. That's actually why I'm calling today. I wanted to know what you'd like me to do with all of these Yankee Candle catalogs, so please get back to me. And keep up the great work with the Disney Marvels podcast.
Thank you for those kind words, Jim. And make sure to check out Jim Hill on the Marvel Us Disney podcast with Aaron Adams to find out all sorts of wonderful things about Disney, well, Marvel, particularly what's going on with them. And Jim, those catalogs, I'll make sure to give you the forwarding address. And unless if you want to order something, go right ahead. And once again, make sure to check out Marvel Us Disney with Jim Hill and Aaron Adams wherever you find or listen to your podcasts. And now, on with the show. Well, as we all know, summer is right around the corner. Memorial Day has passed. The faux start of summer has come and gone, and Disney has made a lot of news, a lot of announcements. We've had a lot of things open up, been announced, and debuted on TV or the streaming services, as it were. So to help break down all this, I had to bring in someone that's genius level, beats Albert Einstein and Tony Stark collectively, and that would be one Sir Isaac Segu. How are you doing, Isaac? Thank you again. Always coming on. It's always a pleasure.
If I had Einstein's genius level, I think it would be a billionaire by now, right now. So I wouldn't. So I'd say just average genius level. Let's go with that.
Was Einstein a patent clerk?
I have no clue, man.
He worked at, he had some menial job.
Yeah.
For a good chunk of his life until someone stumbled upon it. Oh, wait a second, this guy actually does make sense.
Yeah, the man was genius. Man had a different way of looking at things, though. But great individual.
Oh, indeed. Yeah. So as we were talking, just recently, you had some announcements on the video game world. Let's start in the virtual digital world. So we had Guardians of the Galaxy announced from Square Enix that they are now producing another game, despite what some people were saying about the original Avengers game. This obviously has been in production for a while because video games don't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So looks interesting. Looks interesting. You really don't get much of what the story or anything is going to be like. But the little video snippet that I saw looks like it should be good. All new voice acting again. Star-Lord's more of the comic book version again, taking a slightly different creative license on his appearance. But as with a lot of the games, you do have downloadable and customizable skins. Well, I don't know about customizable, downloadable, and you can change out the skins of the character.
Yeah. No, I think it's best that you explain it. It's very interesting that it is taken by Square Enix and Eidos from Montreal Studios handling this project, which I think is completely. I think it's a different. I think it's all still part of the Avengers universe, which I think is going to be fun. It looks kind of good. I think it looks pretty good. Like I said, it's more closer to comic book accuracies, but was just kind of some of the MCU movie flair kind of put into it in terms of the jokes, in terms of how the dialogue is presented. It seems like the writers tried to mimic a little bit of that James Gunn wit that you saw in the MCU films, and honestly, it looks a little bit better right now with the Avengers game. Now, in terms of gameplay right now, I think that's still kind of left on the shelf and still a little bit to be the desire at the moment. It has some very interesting things that's going on for it in terms of the comedy angles and stuff like that. So I think for this type of game, and for people that are kind of fans of the MCU, I think it's really going to be the quips and the jokes and how these characters interact with each other, because I think the only downside to this is that you're only playing as Peter Quill. You're not playing as the rest of the Guardians, which I think is a bit of a downturn and a really interesting choice that they made to do that. So all the decisions are basically going to be made through Peter Quill. It's kind of those situations. Any decision that makes kind of directs the flow or the outcome of the game, almost like a choose your adventure situation. So, it's going to be very interesting to see when this drops. Apparently, the release date is going to be this year, October 26th of 21. And
I was just gonna. I couldn't remember what the date is.
Yeah. So
October 26th.
Yeah.
And they just, as we're talking about it, released the YouTube trailer of it.
Yes. So people that are big in video games, man, Square Enix did present that there are trailers up on YouTube to check out the gameplay and as well as the comedy and writing that they have presented for it. So.
Yeah, it looks colorful. Looks like it has potential for a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So we shall see. And speaking of Avengers, they are adding a whole Wakanda section to it. The Black Panther and a whole another realm to it.
Yes, yes. So with that, as also announced at the Square Enix event that took place over the weekend, yes, the next expansion to the event, Marvel's Avengers game for Square Enix, will include Black Panther. Now, again, this was already announced months back that they were going to bring Black Panther, especially, I think, in respect to the passing of Chadwick Boseman, who has really shined and defined that character in the MCU. Other than that, we really didn't get too much of his gameplay. Unfortunately, we do believe he's going to take some of those instances for the MCU as well as from the comic books, and we're supposed to get a proper unique Black Panther situation where he faces Ulysses Claw in that trailer. So you get all those kind of great moments of him kind of just walking to his throne, throwing down with the Avengers, and eventually at the end of that trailer, it looked like Ulysses Claw kind of becomes basically Gigantor at the end of that damn trailer out of nowhere. So yeah, I really didn't catch the date of when the DLC is going to drop, but I believe it has to be somewhere around this time this year. It has to be in terms of gameplay and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm trying to look it up here myself.
So yeah, I think. So that being said, I think that's really. So yeah, that's being dropped really, really soon. Yeah. Other than that, yeah, it's just later in 2021 is we're hoping to kind of get Avengers Black Panther, the War for Wakanda, and see how that plays out into everything.
Yeah, I'm not seeing an exact date here.
No.
But according to Black Panther, will be available August of 21, so end of the summer.
All right, that fits it. I mean, that fits it well. Nice. Yeah. So a lot of Avenger, Marvel-like games popping up, man, later this fall. It's going to be fun for a lot of Marvel fans.
It should be fun. And the span upon, I don't think it was the Avenger game by Square is a horrible game. It just needs more, and I think they've been providing more. So the more that they've been adding to it, the more I've actually been enjoying it with like the Kate Bishop storyline. The Hawkeye one has dropped, so I haven't checked that one out yet, but it should be fun. It's learning about some of these extra characters that you've heard about recently, but you don't know necessarily who they are as much. So you get to explore these new characters, and before they come out on the Disney Plus on their series. Yeah. Also, we've had in Disneyland, California Adventures to be specific, the Avengers Campus open up just recently to 5-hour plus long lines, but pretty good reviews. Currently, there is just the one attraction. Well, technically, there's two attractions. They built it off of the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. Yeah, Cosmic Rewind is going to be the one that got Mission Breakout, which is the Tower of Terror overlay, which looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you have the Spider-Man attraction, which is kind of like a next step version of the Toy Story Mania. It's a shooting gallery game. You're in a vehicle moving along. You have to shoot the web bots. And you're using your hands actually to shoot webs at them. You also do get it will be coming out with add-ons. Like any good game, you always have to have add-ons that you could wear, and will give you additional advantages into the game and getting higher scores, collecting more web bots, etc., etc. There's Easter eggs. There's a whole bunch of fun stuff built into that game. And Peter Parker himself does actually introduce it. So it is official MCU, well done stuff. You have the Hank Pym kitchen. You have the shawarma cart which people ask me, you think they're going to bring it over to Epcot? I don't know. I seriously doubt it, but I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah, shawarma cart. Yeah, apparently Shang-Chi made a great appearance at the end of that reveal. So I hope there's a shawarma cart. I mean, I think that's you can't open an Avengers campus and not have a shawarma cart. But I think that's right there with Pin Bakery. I think they have Pin Bakeries.
Yeah, it's I think right outside of it. The area itself isn't too big.
Yeah, kind of figured.
They
Yeah,
have the walk around characters.
yes.
They have little stunt shows that they put on. They have the Stuntronic Spider-Man that flips through the sky.
Which, well, I have to say that looks incredibly realistic when I first saw that. And now in the beginning, it's like that can't be a human doing that all the time. And yeah, and I had an opportunity to see the behind the scenes of that, which was just robot animatronics, and the way that he kind of flailed into the air looks just incredibly realistic, which I thought
Oh yeah.
was amazing. So, but it's like, yeah, I was like so confused. Like, wow, how did they get that guy flying into the air? He does that every day. I was like, that must be
Multiple times a day.
that has to be scary. It's like, oh, maybe they hired two people, but no, they're going into the realm of robotics, which is really cool. But yeah, I think it's just kind of taking the same look they did with Galaxy's Edge, where fans get to interact with all their favorite Marvel characters from the films, and be able to hopefully create these great, cool stories and moments and stuff like that. Especially with now the introduction of the new Captain America, which I heard in the opening has gotten a lot of great praise at Disneyland, and
Yeah.
a ton of respect for that.
Yeah, they have the Captain Falcon as the Captain in his Captain America suit, as well as you still got Steve Rogers Captain America walking around. So you have both opportunities. So double the cap for twice the price. So you got a lot of cool stuff going on there. Looks great. Hopefully one day I can make it out there to check it out myself. There is another ride on the table. What they are doing with that, we'll see. It all depends on the economy, because the anticipated ride was a battle for Wakanda. So you go into Wakanda and all the characters are flying around you, and you're battling the bad guys and whatnot. As of now, that's kind of, let's see how we can scale that back some, maybe. The show building is somewhat built. It's just a matter of, do we have the budget and the time to be able to actually build something?
Of course.
Again, because of the economy, all that stuff had to be kind of shelved.
Gotcha.
So we shall see.
We shall see, my man.
Cool. And then from there, we have a man dressed in green and gold, screaming to the people to bow to him. Did you bow to him?
I can't say I did. I kind of fell asleep actually when I was watching it. So I would say that's the second best thing to bowing, but no. But as terms of, I did not fall asleep to the first episode of Loki. Is anybody wondering? I was very wide awake while I was watching the first episode of it. So.
Yes, we are talking about the first episode of Loki. We will go into spoilers, so if anyone hasn't seen it yet, even though the second episode is now dropping today, because it is Wednesday when we're releasing this, be warned. Fair warning. But yeah, Loki, which came out June 9th, starring Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson, Grogu, I am butchering this name. Batha Raw. Something like that. Sophia DiMartino, Winumi Musaka, and Richard E. Grant.
That's not a butcher of the names though, but yeah, he did well. He did well.
I did what I can. Directed by Kate Herron, written by Michael Waldron. And I'll skip over the executive producers and whatnot. Synopsis here from Disney's fact sheet itself was Marvel Studios' Loki features the God of Mischief as he steps out of his brother's shadow into a new Disney Plus series that takes place after the events of Avengers Endgame. Tom Hiddleston returns as the title character, joined by Owen Wilson and everybody just mentioned. Directed by Kate Harington and Michael Waldron, head writer. So,
and don't forget Tara Song, the legendary voice actor Sarah Strong, bringing her voice into Loki.
Yes.
Can't forget about Tara Strong. Come on now.
No, can't forget about that. I love that bit.
Yes. Yes, I was shocked. I was very shocked that she did that bit too. So I thought that was fantastic.
I like the animation style of it. It's got that very 60s vibe.
Yeah, that late 60s, 50s vibe to it. And those infomercials, or those intermediate I guess is it intermediates when you would go to get food and from get popcorn to refill your drinks and stuff like that.
The halftime, as it were.
Yes.
Oh no, you got that word stuck in my head.
What word?
Intermission.
Intermission. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I said intermediate. As I knew that wasn't right.
You're close. You're close. You start with the right letter.
It's like I'll go with it. Somebody's listening to us is going to correct us. You mean
people are yelling at that email could be sent to.
Really clear intermission, but no. In terms of the Loki. The first episode, I think it was a very interesting dive into it. It almost appears like it's just a focused character study of exactly who Loki is, exactly as a character. Because again, if anybody remembers from the events of Endgame, which technically really was the events of New York.
Yeah. It was a synopsis of who he was, who he is, and who he will be.
Yeah, well,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be very interesting because, again, as people who have watched the first episode, we know this is not the Loki that we went through the MCU, but a completely different time period Loki. That kind of has the. It seems like he's going to have the opportunity to kind of be his own person. Once again, not kind of defined by these rules or what he believes to be. And I think you kind of get that through the eyes of a person that's played through Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson's character who plays Morbius in the series. It seems like he's going to try to kind of be this friend/antagonist, frenemy person that tries to really kind of get out the real Loki, if that makes any sense, throughout this whole series, and
Absolutely.
What he finds to be.
Yeah, it's weird because, like you said, we're starting with the Loki from the end of the original Avengers movie, with the brief cameo by a friend of the show, Matthew Berry. So that whole scene from Endgame. And so when he disappears, so instead of following the rest of the movie like we did in Endgame, we now follow, okay, what happened to Loki? He got hurled into Mongolia.
Yep.
And then the TVA shows up, arrests him in comical fashion.
Yeah.
That's kind of brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you kind of get a little thing about what the TVA is, what they're doing. But then you kind of get this kind of side story. At least at the moment, it's a side story, but it's obviously going to lead into the main direction of the show about the TVA time groups or whatever they're calling them.
Yeah.
Going into these places and someone's killing.
Time police, but someone's going to probably give me the correct name.
Yeah, time agents. I don't know. I have it somewhere in this press release that I got from them, but things like 20 pages long. I'm not reading all. No, it's actually 25 pages long. It can wait. But the TVA agents are going out. Time Variance Authority. They're going out trying to correct things as they do, and someone's killing them off. So we got that side story going on, but this is the first of 6 episodes. It was 51 minutes long, give or take the additional credits, which I'm going to say is probably close to what the normal runtime is going to be on these, just like Falcon and Winter Soldier. They, so you got some comical moments as you kind of set up the world of the TVA, and it doesn't really exist in a concrete time. It's more of an abstract time.
Mm-hmm.
And Owen Wilson discovers Loki is now in their possession. He apparently has an affinity for villainous characters, I think is kind of how they put it.
Mm-hmm.
These people are considered variants because they step outside of the considered the authorized timeline.
Authorized timeline, yeah.
And he starts working Loki like, okay, you kill people. Yes, I do. But do you actually enjoy it? It's glorious. But do you enjoy it? He's like being that psychologist character again and trying to break it down. And I think it was like a quick way of watching Loki kind of redeem himself again, like we had in between Thor Avengers and Thor Dark World.
Yeah.
You kind of see that redemption part. And we got to watch it again from a slightly different perspective, because not only now is he's watched his entire life, and you kind of get that question. It's like, if someone knew what their life was going to be, how would they react to it? And this is, he gets to see his death of his mother. He gets to see his own death and how he dies. And Tom Hiddleston just pulls off this great performance of how it affects him. At least that's how my take on it was. And then he kind of reacts in a weird way.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I think what's really great about it is that throughout this, it's a very interesting watch to see how this variant locally develops. Like you said, going through all the whole situations and how he acts and how this character is going to kind of change as the episode goes on too. And on top of that too, you gotta also enjoy the aesthetic of the design of Loki and how once again, because for a while, and I have to admit now, after watching WandaVision kind of gave us more of the supernatural elements of this. Mm-hmm. And then once that's kind of getting thrown back into more ground-based reality for MCU standards with Falcon and Winter Soldier, now we're just kind of, once again, we're kind of going into this really like trippy, multi-dimensional stuff, which again, I like the idea that this is kind of where the beginning of how the multiverse either starts to splinter, and you kind of wonder, does Loki not from what we're going to potentially see down the road with Spider-Man and Doctor Strange films that come down the pipeline, but is this kind of where we're going to see where this is kind of where the multi-universe splinters into totally different things? Because you do remember when Tara Strong's character says that there, if it splinters too much, it could end up causing a multi-universe war. I think a thing that the 3 Time Orders prevented. Could Loki be that catalyst to starting that war? Because again, we don't really know if Loki's a good guy or a bad guy, or Loki just at the moment, or maybe at the end, Loki just probably wants to build his own timeline where he's kind of just his ruler of his own dimension and kind of live his life out that way. There's so many different things that we're honestly going to find out as the show kind of progresses. And especially more important in chasing down the variant that has been killing off a lot of these TVA agents.
Yeah, and I was thinking that too when they were talking about the timeline. I kept on thinking to myself, "Oh, is this how we're this somehow going to be tied into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness as well.
Yeah, and we'll get to see Doctor Strange in the Spider-Man movie way before we see him in his upcoming sequel film.
Yeah, which is, I guess, them kind of doubling back and trying to rewrite things because, as I mentioned the other week when I was talking to Matt, we were supposed to already have Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange would have been gone by this point.
Oh
in
yeah,
the theaters if things hadn't collapsed on the world, as it were. So Doctor Strange would have come out already early part of this year.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been March or May because that WandaVision was supposed to lead right into that.
Right.
So we don't have that. So how do we go and fix this? Which is why I think some people feel WandaVision fell short because it kind of left us hanging. Well, you wouldn't have if everything worked out the way Feige had planned it. Unfortunately, the world laughs at you when you make your best laid plans.
Yeah.
So
even still then, even with everything kind of backed away, why do you still feel that they end up shifting everything? Because it's not like, again, things weren't really open, things weren't ready to go. You think you would still kind of keep in your same schedule, but just push everything back. Why did you believe they'd end up doing the shift that they did?
Because WandaVision and Falcon were already in production. Doctor Strange 2 had not started production.
Okay.
So they had to shift everything. By the time everything got cleared and whatnot, it's like, okay, how can we kind of reshift this thing since things opened up in Australia before they did in England? That's why we're getting Shang-Chi and Thor Love and Thunder already in production because they're being shot in Australia. Australia opened up late last year. And Spider-Man, I think, was done. Spider-Man was done in Georgia. So that's why that production was able to come up. Doctor Strange is being done in England. They've had a few more hiccups than other places.
Maybe
so getting kind of out of what's been dealt to them is hence why these things have shifted.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't know if it's going to be connected, but it's hard to see how it's not connected as far as that. Now, I was noticing also that we don't know if Loki is showing up in Thor Love and Thunder.
Very true point. Which I don't think he will. I think this is a one. Personally, I do believe this is maybe a one-off character piece, and just kind of giving us fans Loki kind of like the set-off.
Yeah,
I think he really deserved because again he was gone literally 5 minutes until Infinity War. So I feel like this was kind of giving Tom Hiddleston the final send-off. As the infamous famous Loki character, and I think we're going to be cool. I think we're going to be on the ride for it. I think it's going to look great.
Yeah, I think. I mean, what do you think of his performance so far?
Tom Hiddleston always gives an excellent performance. I mean, the guy is a complete grand professional. That's a character that he's owned right now. Like you can't go down the street and not scream Loki at Tom Hiddleston at this point because he's embodied that character. He is that character. It's one of his biggest roles. It's the role that everybody kind of knows him in and has made that guy a household name. Because after that, you really never heard of this guy until the first Thor film dropped out. And
yeah.
He's entirely charismatic and wonderful, and cares about people. It's really, Tom Hiddleston. I can't complain enough. He's done a really good job.
Yeah, I mean, he does such a good job, and kind of swinging from the mischievous to the manipulating into the comical too, or the part where the take a number.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he takes a number, walks along. And then the guy in front of him, where's your ticket? I asked for a ticket. I don't have it. And they evaporate him, and he's like, Loki's searching through his jumpsuit and finds the ticket number. I thought it was interesting the one part though where he was questioned are you an android? And he starts questioning that. I don't know if I am an android or not. How would I find out? Well, the machine would have melt you down.
Could be a completely different variant. We honestly wouldn't know about that at the moment.
Yeah. So that I thought that was an interesting piece. And you're more versed in the comic reading is more than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping forward towards the end of the episode where you have that last group go out and they're in that farm and they find this futuristic staff in the ground.
Hmm.
Why does that thing look familiar to me?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. That is very interesting. Although if not the staff, I do remember what looked very interesting were apparently the Infinity Stones, and how.
You mean the paperweights?
Yes. Well, in time, it's clearly paperweights because they have no value. They're nothing more than trinkets.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they kind of just pull off one of the most powerful elements in the MCU like it was nothing, it also kind of shows you how much they are really deconstructing the MCU and rebuilding it up to the next set of Avenger stories moving forward. The fact that they basically blew off the Infinity Stones like it was like basically nothing, and now in DC and Disney is quite of a bold step of storytelling moving forward, I can say.
Yeah, it's I thought it was a nice comical piece, and they kept on referring to magic. I never was sure, and we never got into Loki and Thor's powers. Like what's the source? How did they come by it? It's Asgardian ancient magic, ancient whatever. But they do label it specifically as magical powers in this, and they said your magical powers will not work here. And you could see the distress of Loki of not being able to be Loki with his powers.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get this really interesting moment of more vulnerable Loki sitting there in Owen Wilson's Agent Morbius's office with the Tesseract. He said, even the Tesseract doesn't work here. It's worthless here.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of tossing it about, and you just kind of see him without a direction.
Sure.
What is the quote unquote god of mischief if he can't create mischief?
Yeah, and that's again, it's going to be a very interesting character piece for these next 6 episodes to see exactly what does Loki become.
Yeah, because I didn't go back and rewatch the trailers, but from what I remember of them, most of what we saw happened in this episode. Loki jumping out of the plane, Loki on the plane, Loki on the elevator, Loki disappearing, Loki with the Mongolians initially, but not with the flowered suit and his helmet. We don't have that. We didn't see that part yet. So
Not yet.
That is yet to come.
Not
But
yet.
Otherwise, we got a lot of the trailer came out this first episode, so there's a lot of stuff coming that we do not know about, which is great, I think.
And I'm very curious to see if the movement of this has any play to do with the Black Widow film, because I know Marvel for the longest period of time has held their cards very close to their vest with Black Widow, as I feel like there's something in Black Widow that's supposed to reveal maybe key moments moving forward. If anything, probably reveal things that we've already seen throughout these past 3 television series that are out at the moment.
Yeah, they've been very protective of Black Widow, and they've been waiting to release it at a key moment.
Yes.
I think a lot of it also is how we're going to release it. Between theater, between Disney Plus, they finally kind of threw their hands up and say, okay, we're going to do both. Supposedly I've heard a number of rumors of what we may get a number of reveals into these limited series from from Black Widow. We shall see next month
Yeah.
if any of that's true.
No, I agree.
But I am excited for that series, for that movie. Eternals, I don't think is going to have anything to do with any of this stuff because of how long ago that was filmed.
No, I don't think so either.
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, I could see that being slightly more involved.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is kind of, like you said, setting things up because now we have these they're not the Watchers. What'd they call them?
Aren't they like the Time Gods?
It was something like that.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna be screaming at us. Oh, they're the whatever. It is but these overseers of time that okay, who are these guys now? Because we've had the Watcher, we've had the Collector, so okay, we moved on from them. So who are the next ones? Everyone's saying that it's going to be Kang the Conqueror is going to be the next big bad.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always more than just one.
Yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree. Totally agree.
Overall, what would you give this episode on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being, let's go, a 10 high, 1 low.
I'll give it right now. I'll give it like a 7 at the moment. I think it's just, again, slow build episodes. As interesting as it is a little bit of a slower build episode than the previous two. Again, a lot kind of weirdly in the same realm as a WandaVision, in terms of how WandaVision was also a slow burn in terms of you really didn't understand exactly what was going on. And I think you kind of get the same exact feeling with Loki at the general point at the moment. I think it's fun. I think the real thrill about what's going to happen in Loki is that we're finally going to get more information. We're going to get a glimpse as Marvel fans about the universe, about eventually how the multiverse and how this is going to work, and how this thing's going to fracture and go into berserk mode, and how it's going to open up the other doors to the What If series that we're hopefully going to get the end of this year onto Disney Plus and stuff like that. So I'm just excited for what this episode's going to do moving into MCU films moving forward.
Yeah. I'm going to go slightly higher. I'm going to give it an 8. But again, that's kind of, I can't say it's completely etched in stone because I think a lot of it rides on what's next.
Yeah.
Production-wise, it's fantastic. Acting-wise, really good. There's a lot that they set up. Yes, again, it is slower. It's kind of an introductory. Okay, if you haven't watched all 20-something other films, if you're not that familiar with Loki, here's a refresher. If it's been a while since you've visited Loki, here's kind of a refresher. Here's who he is, what he's done, what he did, but here's kind of this other angle of it. And just in setting up this whole realm of the TVA, and what they are about. We still don't fully understand them because it's Marvel. Since what we learned about the agent, about SHIELD, you can't trust anybody.
No.
And so we shall see. We shall see where this all leads to. But so far, I think it's off on the right foot. Visual effects are great. Storytelling is great. I mean, you cannot tell the difference between this and the movie as far as in appearance.
Yeah.
So, a lot of CGI work, a lot of digital work put into it, and it's played out well. So far, it's played out well.
Okay.
So,
beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give it an 8.
Gotcha. Beautiful.
Any final thoughts on that?
No, I think it wrapped it up beautifully. I think we can both share that we're in the same level with the first episode, which I think is expected too for a slow burn episode.
Absolutely. We shall see. Let's revisit this again in 5 weeks.
Oh yes, totally.
And
can't wait to see what the next episode looks like. And that's.
Yeah, I mean, when everyone starts listening to this, okay, listen to us, and then put on Disney Plus and start streaming away episode 2, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, man. Oh, it's always a pleasure, brother.
Thank you for joining us this week. I want to know yours. I know I put this survey out there, and 74% of you said Loki exceed your expectations, but I want to hear your specific thoughts on Loki episode 1. Either your theories of the show going forward, what you thought of this episode, some things we may have missed, some Easter eggs. Let us know. Put it out. Join us on the Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Disney Marvels Podcast. Find us on Instagram at Disney Marvels Podcast, on TikTok at Disney Marvels Podcast, and on Twitter at Disney Marvels. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We get a few more subscribers on there. We will start going live, Saturday Night Lives, on YouTube. You can also leave us a voice message through the Anchor app and or website, anchor.fm, or record a message on your electronic device and email it to disneymarvels@gmail.com. You can also use that same email address for any questions or suggestions you may have or you want answered on this show. We could do a mailbag episode. Start sending them in. Don't forget to check out the Disney Marvels blog at disneymarvels.blogspot.com. Links to all these are in the show notes. I want to thank you for your time. I know how little time we all have these days, how crazy life has been. You know, the summer is coming up, end of school years. Kids are now home all the time. If they hadn't been already home, now they don't have teachers to keep them occupied. Planning out summer vacations, thinking about a trip to Disney World, lots of different stuff. It's a little crazy. And I just hope we offer a little bit of time of escape for you. And you know what? It really means a lot to me to know that you guys are listening out there. Every time someone listens to the show, it does put a smile on my face, and it gets me excited. It gets me excited that we are sharing this love of Disney together. And I know we probably haven't met. You hear me, I haven't heard you, but we can meet up on the social networks. We can chat that way. We all have that Disney love. And I've met so many friends through this, and some fantastic people. I've spoken to people I've never thought I would speak to. I've talked to people from all different countries, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic to know that Disney has connected all of us. So, just ask of you, take a moment, please go on to Apple Podcast, leave a rating on there. It helps more people find out about the show. Apple will even promote the show. Or you can also, you could do both of these. Tell your friends. Share it out on a social network. I've seen what some of you put out there, and you've told people, hey, check this out. This is an awesome episode. They're doing this, or he's talking about this. Check this out. And, I love it. Thank you. Thank you for everyone who's done that. Grant Harding on Instagram, shout out. Or is this was Twitter. Yep, this was Twitter. Grant Harding said, great interview with Rick Lyon. Really like that interview. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. And like I said, shared it out there. And so did Melanie on Instagram. This one was on Instagram. Back on our episode 134 for our interview with Steve Lewis from Gideon's Bakehouse. If the lure of At Gideon's Bakehouse intrigues you, I highly recommend this episode of At Disney Marvels Podcast, all about the creative mind behind the shop. Both of you, thank you so much. Thank you for putting it out there. Like I said, I do see these things. You tag us in it. I see it. I read it. It is all me. And I will respond. I will, show my appreciation. So, keep it up. Keep it up. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to the show while you're at it. This way you always know when a new episode is posted. And also consider becoming a premium subscriber. Help keep the show going. Help keep the lights on. You can do this over at anchor.fm/DisneyMarvel/support or find our Patreon page. We get that going, I'll start doing some bonus episodes on there. I've already talked about it with some of the guys. We're all on board. It'll be a lot of fun. So check out our merchandise shop, which you can get yourself some cool Disney Marvel stuff, some mugs, some shirts, different things I've created. I'll find them there on there. Show your Disney love, show your Disney Marvel love. You can also find the links to all these in the show notes as well. Because remember, this show is truly brought to you by listeners like you. If it wasn't for you, this show wouldn't be here. Whatever you're facing out there, whatever troubles, hard times, remember two things. You can get through this. You are strong. You are worth it. You are fantastic. Never give up on yourself. The other thing is, you are not alone. You have people who believe in you. You have people that mean a lot to them. And that would be willing to help out. And help bear that load. And see you through. They will help you find that light that's inside of you. That needs to shine. Let that light shine. Do not be afraid of it. Sometimes the light can be scary. But the light is pure and beautiful, like you. Never give up. Never give in. Be your own hero. And let the world see how amazing and wonderful you are. So as always, I would like to end the show with a quote from Walt Disney himself. Attractions will, quote, come to life, unquote, through audio animatronics, our space-age electronic method of making inanimate things move on cue, hours after hours, show after show. And that's from Walt Disney. Boy, was he ever right. Well, thank you again for listening, everyone, and I'll see you next time.